So how do you win a game where the board, the pieces, and even the rules themselves are constantly changing? I mean, that's the real challenge of modern strategy, right? It's not just in the military, but in business, in tech, pretty much any competitive space you can think of. We're going to do a deep dive into how you can actually succeed when everything is in flux. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about what it means to win in a world that never sits still. Then, we'll get into the advantage of tempo, this idea of speed and rhythm. After that, we'll cover why it's so important to see the whole board, what leadership looks like when you're not in control, and finally, how you build a culture that can actually do all this stuff. So first things first, let's really get our heads around the basic problem here. And this isn't some brand new challenge. Thinkers from the ancient strategist Sun Tzu all the way to modern masters like John Boyd and Simon Wardley, they were all wrestling with the same fundamental issue. And this, right here, is the million-dollar question. Because as the business strategist Simon Wardley loves to point out, your competitors are always going to change the game. You can't stop them. So that whole idea of a perfect 5-year plan that you just execute flawlessly, yeah, that's a total fantasy. So the answer isn't about having a better, more rigid plan. It's about being better at adapting. The real key to not just surviving, but actually thriving and dominating is your ability to handle uncertainty and constant change. It's about being less like a machine that follows a program and a lot more like a living, breathing organism. Okay, so if adaptability is the goal, how in the world do you get there? Well, the critical answer is a concept called tempo. And this isn't just about moving fast. It's about the rhythm. It's about thinking and reacting faster and more effectively than your competition can even track. The legendary Air Force Colonel John Boyd gave us this incredibly powerful model for this called the OODA loop. It's a cycle that never stops. You observe what's going on, then you orient yourself to what you're seeing, and this is the most important step. It's where you make sense of everything. Then you decide what to do and you act. And boom, the second you act, the world changes and you're right back to observing again. And this is where it gets really cool. This is the goal. It's not just about spinning through your own loop as fast as you can. The real magic happens when you get inside your competitor's loop. When you can cycle through observe, orient, decide, and act faster than they can, you basically make them reactive. They end up constantly responding to a world that you've already shaped. So how do you pull that off? Well, it's about doing two things at once. First, you make your own decision process as smooth and fast as possible. You compress your time. At the same time, you do everything you can to stretch out their time. You introduce confusion and friction for them. You use what Boyd called fast transient maneuvers, quick, unpredictable moves that just throw them for a loop. Think about it. A small startup drops a killer new feature overnight. The big, slow competitor has to spend the next 3 months in meetings just to figure out how to respond. By then, the startup has already moved on. That's gaining tempo. Now, this whole idea of tempo, it really depends on those first two parts of the OODA loop, observe and orient. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't outmaneuver anyone if you're basically flying blind. You have to be able to see the entire board. And check this out. Simon Wardley makes a really powerful point here. This isn't just some abstract feel-good idea. He found a direct link, a strong correlation, between a company's situational awareness and its actual business performance. When you truly understand your landscape and how it's changing, you just make better moves. It's that simple. And Wardley even gives us a kind of playbook for making this happen. First, you need a common language, like a map, so that everybody's looking at the same picture of reality. Then, you have to create a culture where people are encouraged to challenge assumptions. Ego has no place here. You've got to be transparent with information, and you absolutely have to empower your people with a clear purpose and the freedom to act. And that leads us right to this next part, which is huge, and it's all about people. The way you lead your team will either enable them to adapt at lightning speed, or it will paralyze them. John Boyd laid out these two completely different worlds. On one side, you've got command and control. You know this one. It's rigid, it's top-down, and it crushes initiative. It adds friction. Then, on the other side, you have appreciation and leadership. This model is all about inspiring cooperation, and it's built on deep implicit trust. It gives people the freedom and the room to use their imagination, and that is what lets you adapt on the fly. This line just nails the paradox perfectly, doesn't it? The more you try to micromanage and control every little thing, the less actual control you have over the outcome. True control, the ability to actually achieve your goals, comes from letting go. It comes from trusting your people to act smartly within a shared mission. And by the way, this isn't some new age management idea. Even ancient strategists got this. Sun Tzu warned that even good things, virtues, can become dangerous if you take them to the extreme. If you're too courageous, you become reckless. If you're too compassionate, you become indecisive. It's all about finding that right balance. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together here in our final section. How do we actually build an organization, a team that can do all of this? Well, the answer, like it often is, comes down to culture. It starts with these really powerful ideas, like the German concept of Auftragstaktik. Think of it as a mission contract. It's a deal. The leader's job is to be crystal clear on the what and the why, the overall mission. And in return, they give their team massive freedom to figure out the how. It's this beautiful balance of centralized intent and decentralized action. And for that to work, you need people with Fingerspitzengefühl. I love this word. It literally translates to fingertips feeling. It's that intuitive competence, that gut feel for what to do in a complex situation. And it's not magic. You develop it by giving people a ton of different experiences, connecting ideas from all over the place, so they build up this rich mental library they can pull from to make fast, smart calls without needing a step-by-step manual. So these are really the pillars holding everything up. You need moral leverage, a mission that's so compelling it fires up your team. You need mutual trust, that deep, unspoken bond that lets people act confidently without asking for permission. You need a clear focus, a Schwerpunkt, or main effort, so that everyone's individual initiative pulls in the same direction. And finally, you need mental agility, which means you have to actively seek out and promote the unconventional thinkers, the people willing to take risks and challenge how things are done. And here's why all of this is so critical. There's this idea from biology called the Red Queen hypothesis. It basically says you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place. In business or any competitive field, that means you have to constantly evolve just to keep up. If you stand still, you're actually falling behind. Adaptation is not optional. So at the end of the day, here's the big takeaway. Winning in the modern world isn't about finding that one perfect bulletproof plan. It's about building a resilient, intelligent system, an organic whole that is designed from the ground up to thrive on change, to outthink, outadapt, and outmaneuver everyone else. Which leaves us with one final thought. Take a hard look at your own team, your own organization. Is it designed like a rigid machine built to execute a fixed set of commands? Or is it more like a living system, truly built to adapt? The answer to that question will probably tell you everything you need to know about its future.